our one participant at the moment. So again, it's Dr. Stevens. We've got Dr. Chris, Dr. Travis as well. We're with Texas Chiro Health. We're going to be talking a lot about stress today. I know there's been a lot of stress going on out there between what everybody's hearing, what things do we think about, but we want to talk about today about the effects that it has on our heart, our arteries, and our overall health as well. So I know we'll get into it here in a second, but I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Travis for a few moments.
Hey guys, Dr. Travis here in the Lakewood office. And as always, we do this every Wednesday to educate you guys on how to eat well, move well, and think well. Because it's what we have to do to stay healthy. And as we've been learning from all this pandemic stuff, the healthier we are, the better we are surviving and threshing and going forward and everything there. But then we talk about the research when we do these calls, because I don't know if about you guys, if you see a headline and it says, oh, the research shows, and you actually click on the link and they don't actually provide the research there. It's just an article. So where's the research at? So that's what we're providing with you guys today and on all these calls. And so you know what the actual research says and how we can maintain our homeostasis through using that research so we can be healthy. And so today we're talking about stress and cardiovascular disease. And so Dr. Phillips, you want to take it over?
Yeah, for sure. Let me share my screen here with you. Cool, there we go. So yeah, like Dr. Travis said, research is sometimes used as a word to snag attention or market something, or to be a gimmick, or people say science instead of research or something like that. So we do our best to make sure that we just provide you with the research articles that are actual research, that are peer reviewed in the top journals. They're not just opinions or facts. And it gives us an unbiased, evidence-based approach to health. And that's how we work in our offices and things as well. So we're just here to help educate the community on what the research actually says and how we can best use that to be healthy and get through not just COVID, but to live a healthy lifestyle. I mean, this is just one microcosm, right, that's happened here. Our health is always important, not just because there's this pandemic that's going on. So let's take a look at today's article. It's by Esch et al. It's called Stress and Cardiovascular Disease. So I did a talk about this last night too, and I was talking to everybody about how stress, yes, it affects the arteries, it affects the heart and everything else, but it affects every single organ system in our body. It affects our immune system. It affects everything about our health. And that's why part of what we teach our patients is not just eating and moving, but also thinking and managing stress at a high level so that you can be healthy. One of the first quotes that I took from the article that I found interesting, it said, balance is key in stress. Through an extremely complicated equilibrium called homeostasis, all living organisms maintain their survival in the face of internal and external stimuli. So basically what that means is that we are constantly bombarded with stressors, okay? Whether that be chemical stress from what we're putting into our body, what we shouldn't be, or what we're not putting in that we should be, whether it's from physical stresses, from pain and discomfort, or from not getting enough movement and exercise, or if it's mental stresses from, all the deadlines, the work stuff, the family stuff, the relationship stuff, or just not giving ourselves enough time to recover from those stresses and just not doing the right mental exercises that are required for us to be at peace. So the homeostasis that it talks about, one of the best examples that we give of homeostasis in the office that was developed by Dr. Chestnut is the example of the guy with rocks in his backpack. We call it the rocks in the backpack guy, right? So basically homeostasis is when he's staying afloat and he doesn't have any rocks in his backpack pulling him down. The rocks are represented by his allostatic load, or the stressors in life that are coming on. He didn't get enough movement, that's a rock in the backpack. Makes it a little bit harder to stay at homeostasis and stay afloat. On the other side, to take a rock out of the backpack, you need to do something good for yourself. He took his omega-3s today, put the right things into his body, that's a rock out of the backpack. That's moving him closer to homeostasis. So he's much more likely to reach homeostasis if he's doing the right thing and removing rocks from his backpack so he'll stay afloat. So that's what this article is kind of all about. What you look at is chronic stress in the beginning, right? So when we were evolving, this was stress right here. We're out in the plains, we're in the fields, we're looking for food, we're running around, doing whatever, and then there's a lion. And now there's a big stress. right? So that activates our sympathetic nervous system, or our fight or flight reaction. So we have the choice now to fight this lion or run and get away from this lion. And our body makes that decision in a split second. And when it does, and our sympathetic nervous system kicks in, all the blood leaves our kind of abdominal region and everything. It gets to our limbs so that it pushes out so that we can be ready to fight. Our blood pressure goes up because we're going to need it. We need all that blood. We need our muscles activated. Our pupils actually dilate, so our vision becomes more acute. And all this stuff takes place because of our sympathetic nervous system. Well, when we were evolving, that was great. It helped us survive. And then we would go back into a parasympathetic state and get some rest. The problem is that now we live here, where we have all the stresses all the time. We're sick, we're tired, we're in a relationship, we got bills, things are overdue, we're facing debt, we have family, anxiety, fear, panic, you name it, there's stresses constantly happening to us. The problem with that is we're in a sympathetic state, in that fight or flight mode all the time now. So we're constantly pushing blood out to the arteries. We're constantly ready to fight, ready to run. And we feel that anxious feeling. And it's just been the chronic stress. What it does, what this article is looking at, is what does living in that state constantly do to our cardiovascular system, our arteries and our heart. And it even talks about the immune system, which we'll talk about at the end here. But what we looked at was, in the beginning, there's this thing called endothelial stress. So endothelial cells are what line the inside of our arteries, okay? And when we have endothelial stress, when we get into that sympathetic state, our arteries contract, right? And they squeeze down. Last week, I talked to you guys about exercise and how that makes our arteries expand because we're pushing that blood and we're really stretching them, and how great that is for the body because it helps the arteries get stronger. Well, this does the exact opposite. When they constrict like that and the blood pressure goes up because we're in that fight or flight state, we get endothelial stress. Those cells get damaged in there. And instead of those cells just being damaged and us bleeding out, we send cholesterol, we send scar tissue, all kinds of stuff to protect ourselves and to repair those damages. The problem is, over time, it starts to narrow the space in there because we build those things up, and that space becomes more and more narrow, and the blood struggles to get through, and we see a constant raise in blood pressure, not just a survival raise, which we need, but it's constantly happening, and then we're getting more and more stress on the arteries. So when that happens, and we continue to have that happen, we have an ischemic response. And basically what an ischemic response is that squeezing down of the arteries when we get that first flight or fight symptom. So when we keep getting things over and over and over all day, it's squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. We're getting the endothelial stress. We're building up those plaques. And then the ischemic response keeps happening. And the thing about the ischemic response is that it tends to happen where we have those buildups of plaque. So it's already hard for blood to get through, and then it contracts in those areas again, and it can actually cut the blood off. So if you know anyone with coronary artery disease, right, the coronary artery is one that leaves the heart. And there's multiple arteries that leave the heart, but this in coronary artery disease, you get the ischemic response happening around the endothelial damage that we have happening in the coronary artery. And that's where heart attacks come from, your myocardial infarctions. So when you squeeze like that and it cuts that blood off, we have a reduce of blood flow leaving the heart, and it gets stuck in the heart. And then we have oxygen stuck there, not getting out, not getting to the brain and other parts of the body. And we start to see that's where heart attacks come from. And that's how stress is related to heart attacks and artery damage and overall cardiovascular disease and cardiovascular damage. So it's a really big deal. So in summary, when you're looking at the cardiovascular system, stress plays a significant role in susceptibility, progress, and outcome of cardiovascular disease. So basically, stress makes us more susceptible to cardiovascular disease. It progresses it quicker, and the outcome is worse when we're under stress and you're looking at cardiovascular disease. In particular, stress may cause or exacerbate disease processes depending on the type of stressor involved and or the duration of its influence on an organism. So that's just talking about the chronic stress, and the longer we're under that chronic stress state and we're not doing something to help our mental state, this is just accelerated quicker and quicker. The same thing is actually happening to our immune system, and they looked at how stress does the same thing to immunological diseases. That's your bacteria, that's your viruses, that's the invaders that come in and make us sick. That's COVID-19. Stress is causing us to be more susceptible to any of those things, including COVID-19. It's causing it to progress further and faster, and the outcome is much worse when we're highly stressed all the time. So stress, like I was saying earlier, doesn't just do this to our immune system. It doesn't just do it to our cardiovascular system. It affects absolutely every single system of our body. And it's why it's so important that we are sufficient in positive thought, in social interaction, in the things that reduce the stress and bring it back down, and that we're resilient to stress. When we have high stress periods, we catch ourselves and we bounce back. We take some time to breathe, clear our heads, those types of things. So stress plays a huge role on us. And it's really detrimental to our health. So that's what this article had found. And then Dr. Stevens, I'll let you talk about our charity just real quick. I'm pretty sure that our guest has heard about our charity in the past couple of weeks, but if he has any questions,
well, there are the phone numbers there. So either Dr. Travis in Lakewood or myself in McKinney, we'd love to help answer the questions. We are still working with Big Brothers Big Sisters. We're doing a school drive, a school supply drive. So if you do know of anybody in any of those areas who's looking to still donate any school supplies, we're trying to take them. But a $39 donation is going to cover.
Yeah.
What was that one?
10 days left on the school drive too. I don't know if.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I gotcha. But the $39 donation for the X-ray, spinal health assessment, consultation exam, pretty much to see what other stresses are building up, how we can try and help get some of those rocks out of the backpack. And also just share the word for what we're doing on these Wednesdays. That way we can kind of make sure everybody else is getting the information, getting healthy out there too. So Dr. Travis, any questions? I can't quite see on the phone.
No, we don't have any questions at the moment. Do we have a question from our audience? No questions. Awesome.
Well, do your best.
Questions?
Absolutely. Try to keep your stress down. Take some time to breathe. Turn off the news for a little bit. Put down the social media. You'll feel a lot better, and that'll start to grow for you. So, thanks for joining us today, for sure.
Yeah, and then next week we're talking about the flu epidemic and vitamin D. So the importance of that. So that's a super good topic, very important topic, and then we'll go from there. But thanks for joining us today, and then looking forward to next week.
All right. Bye.